Thomas Gelmi, welcome back to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast.
Thank you, John. My pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it really is great to have you back. We had a great discussion. What was it? Several weeks ago.
A few weeks.
Yeah, and I'm excited to continue the conversation. Today, we're going to be focusing on fostering a resilience environment within the workplace, looking at both, from the leader standpoint of how leaders can foster resilience within themselves and their own approach, but how they can also model that for their people and then create an environment where their people can be more resilient to respond to those challenging pressures that are all around them. And I think this is probably as important of a topic as it's ever been. It's always been important, but given the current environment, the current pandemic situation, and the difficulties that everyone's been facing, I think resilience is key. We all need to have a good, healthy dose of grit and determination and just the ability to roll with the punches and to move beyond the challenges and the difficulties that we all face.
Indeed.
As we get started, I just wanted to share Thomas's bio with everybody. For almost 2 decades, Thomas Gelmi has been an executive coach, facilitator, and sparring partner supporting leaders and teams in their development at various levels and in numerous industries. He focuses on developing personal and interpersonal competence in leadership, teamwork, and customer contact. For his practice, he draws on an extraordinary biography with exciting milestones, including a 7-year employment at former Swissair, in the worldwide leadership and training of cabin crew, and in a contact with international customers at 30,000 feet. He experienced firsthand how important a high level of personal and interpersonal competence is for effective human interaction. Additionally, he has many years of professional experience in various management positions and as a team leader and trained caregiver in accident and other extreme situations. Based in Switzerland with a home near Zurich, Thomas works with people all across Europe and regularly in North America, Africa, Asia, and Australia. His clients include global corporations as well as SMEs and private individuals. Again, it is a real pleasure to have you back. I really appreciated all the insights you brought to the table last time. And I think today we're going to have some great conversation around resilience. Anything else you would like to add, Thomas, before we dive on in?
No, not really. That was very comprehensive as an introduction. So let's kick it off and let's talk.
Okay, cool. So let's start with your understanding, your framing of resilience, why it's important, from a human perspective, but also the business case for resilience. Why do we need to foster this within our teams?
Yeah. All right. Well, I might want to, start off with the definition of resilience. What is it? What are we talking about? The term itself has its origin in physics, and it describes the ability of a material, of a substance or material, to bounce elastically under pressure, and then be elastic under pressure and then bounce back into its original state without any damage. So to give you an example with my aviation background, a Boeing 747, the big jumbo jets, the wingtips of such a huge airplane can elastically be moved up and down several meters without breaking and without even causing structural damage. So that may be a comforting thought for all of those listeners or viewers who are afraid of flying. Planes are made for that. Planes are constructed for being able to resist heavy turbulence, for example. And then over time, and especially in recent years, resilience has also been a term that has been increasingly often used in psychology and in terms of human beings, a person's, an individual's ability to be elastic under pressure and not break, not burn out, but really roll with the punches, as you just said, and then come back to your center after the peak has
Yeah.
leveled off. And another good image for resilience is bamboo, the plant.
Mm-hmm.
Bamboo, yeah, it goes with the wind, with the storm, and after the storm has gone, it's standing upright again. Doesn't break.
Yeah, those are great examples. I love the physics definition of it, and the ability to bend but not break, right, and to get back to where it was. And that's how we build out earthquake resistant buildings, right? Seismic adjustments to buildings. It's exact same thing. Like you want a big skyscraper to be able to bend and sway, right?
Exactly.
And it's the same thing for humans, because we all face challenges. We all have our own turmoil, our own personal earthquakes, our own high winds or hurricanes in our lives. And we need to be able to bend without breaking. We need to be able to roll with the punches. We need to be able to bounce back.
Exactly. Yeah. And, I'm sure you've heard this before, and probably everybody has heard it before. Growth and development happens outside the comfort zone, right? Fair enough. We have to leave our comfort zone, make new experiences in order for us to grow.
Yeah, absolutely.
The problem is, recently, especially since this global pandemic has started, for many people in organizations, being outside the comfort zone has become the new normal, has become a plateau rather than a peak every now and then, a peak where you're a bit more stressed and you have an increased workload, which levels off again, has become a plateau for many. Increasing workload, but of course also other aspects that have an influence on well-being, et cetera, et cetera. And that's why developing this resilience, the ability to cope with any adversity, has become so much more important. And another word for it is also the window of tolerance. So your own individual window of tolerance. We all have it. And it can be more narrow, or it can be wider, this window of tolerance. And it can also be a bit volatile throughout the day, right? Depending on our mood, et cetera, and other aspects. It can be more narrow or wider. And it can, by building resilience, be widened. Right? Can be made wider, increased.
Yeah, I really like that. So let me play devil's advocate for a moment. What I'm about to say is not at all what I think or believe. But if I'm playing devil's advocate and I'm a money focused organization, bottom line focused, I want to make more money, and I hear about this topic of resilience, and I think about everything that our employees are dealing with. There's a certain mindset that I could challenge that, and I could say, well, who cares? Like if it's happening in their personal life, that's not my business. My business is when you come to work, check your emotions, check your personal life, all your own stuff, check it at the door, come and be quote unquote professional, do your job. And if you can't do it, I'm going to get rid of you. I'm going to find someone else who can do it. And we're not going to have to deal with all that stuff. How would you respond to that?
Well, I would say it all depends on what you want and what your goals are. With such a hire and fire mentality where humans are really only seen as human resources, emphasizing resources or instruments that do the job and they're being paid for, period. And all the rest doesn't interest me. I just want to make profit. If that's the approach and that's the goal, and you're willing to pay the price, which is usually high turnover of headcount, you can be profitable like that. Unfortunately, it is possible, right? But there's a price to pay. If you're willing to pay that price, you can go freestyle. If you care for human beings and you also see a certain social responsibility as an entrepreneur, as an organization, to care for your people, to some extent at least, to provide healthy workplace conditions, to also understand that health-related mistakes in the workplace, health-related absences in the workplace also have their cost and also have an impact on profitability end of the day, then you might want to apply a different approach.
Yeah.
And of course, it's also maybe one thing to add, it's also culturally different, right? Not every nation, not every culture has the same social safety net, so to speak, right?
Right.
And that's certainly an aspect that also comes into play.
Yeah, those are great points. And you're correct. It is possible to have a profitable business where you have that mentality towards your people. But it's also not mutually exclusive to either focus on your people and value them as whole human beings in their whole experience, you know, and create a good, healthy environment. It's not like we have to choose between that or profits. In fact, there's so much research that shows, and you just brought up many important types of situations. There's so many ways that focusing on that healthy environment, focusing on the resilience of our people will ultimately add to the bottom line. It'll actually help cut costs in a variety of ways. It'll allow us to have a healthy, you know, innovative culture that can help us bring new value to the marketplace to make more money. So, you know, whenever I hear that kind of an argument, and I do hear it fairly often, whenever I hear that kind of an argument, I like to push back on it because it's not an either or. You can do both. And there are many, many really great examples of companies that have been able to do that.
And it goes even one step further. You cannot only do both or have both. You can even be more profitable by caring more for your people.
Absolutely.
Now, this may sound counterintuitive for some people, but look, if you want people just to do the job and to do what they're being told, fair enough, you can be successful. But in markets where products and services become increasingly comparable, what makes the difference in the end? When product A, B, and Z are all more or less the same, there might be a slight difference in price, but then what makes the difference? It's the people. It's the people that make the difference. And now we're touching on customer orientation, customer focus, customer satisfaction. And of course, every entrepreneur will tell you, yes, customer comes first. Customer is in the center of our attention and everything we do. Forgetting that customer focus begins way, way earlier inside the organization. To quote Richard Branson, the customer doesn't come first. Your employees come first. Because if you take good care of your employees, they will take care of your customers. Automatically, you won't even have to do anything or tell them to do it. They will do what is necessary because they want to do it, because they feel like this is important and this is in the best interest of the organization, that I now go this extra mile for our customer because I want to do it, and it may not even feel like work, you know, because I'm so intrinsically motivated and I have a purpose. Now, I take this Branson quote even one step further, and I say, as a leader, customer doesn't come first. Employees don't come first. You come first. In terms of self-care, building your own resilience, making sure you yourself are balanced, well-balanced, and in a good place, in and with yourself. Because then and only then you can operate from a secure base, and you can really, really be there for your people, inspire them, give them purpose, be visionary, support them in need if needed. Yeah. And then the chain of events goes on. So you come first as a leader, then you can be there for your people, and then your people will be there for your customers.
Yeah, it's absolutely all connected, right?
It is.
And it's a rather silly notion to think we can just be customer focused without focusing on the health and of the physical and emotional health of our leaders and the people within the organization.
Yeah.
That requires a dynamic culture of learning and growth, of health and inclusivity, where everyone can bring their whole authentic self to the workplace and know that they're going to be supported, even if it's with something that has nothing to do with work, just whatever the stuff they're dealing with in life. They know that when they come to work, a place where they're spending the majority of their life, that they have genuine leaders who care about them, authentically care about them, and are going to be there to support them and help them to be their best selves. So again, it starts with the leader, absolutely. And then it moves to taking really good care of your employees, having that positive employee experience. And the research is so crystal clear on this, that when you have, better employee experience, employee engagement, employee satisfaction, it leads to more customer loyalty, customer satisfaction, and customer integration. There's so much research on this, it's not even a question. And so, we need to make sure that we're focusing on it in that way. And when we do that, it's going to be a win-win-win all the way across the board.
Yeah. There's even a shorter quote by, I don't remember his name because it's a Japanese name. It's difficult to pronounce, but he's the founder of Kyocera Mita. Kyocera, a huge producer of copy machines, fax machines, etc. in the past, and now other product portfolio. But he said, along the lines of Branson, he says, if you want eggs, you have to take care of the hen. If you bully the hen, it won't work out well. So simple, right? So simple. And yeah, it sounds simple. So obvious and simple, right? It's simple, but apparently not easy for many.
Well, and it's not easy because of all the complexities of human nature and organizational cultures and tradition that's working against us doing that. And so if we can just shift our mindset towards investing in our people, investing in ourselves, investing in our people, taking care of the hen, like you just said, then great things can and will happen. No, it's not always going to work out perfectly. And there are going to be times where you're going to have people you need to discipline or you need to let go. That happens. That happens in every organization. But it's a fundamentally different kind of situation when we consistently are trying to support our people. And one thing I try to remind leaders, executives, even students in the classroom when I'm teaching, I try to remind them that turnover costs exist whether someone chooses to leave or whether you kick them out the door. So whether it's voluntary or involuntary turnover, it impacts the organization, and there's a toll to be paid. There are costs involved. And now, assuming you're getting rid of someone because they weren't working out, now there's certainly costs for keeping them around, but when they're leaving, there's still costs, and you still have to find a new person that can fit with the team and get them spun up so that they're performing at a high level. And so the reason I bring this up is because it speaks to the importance of the investment in our people. Some organizations, their tendency is, kind of have like a no tolerance policy. You mess up, you're out, or maybe you get one chance. And then once you mess up more than once, you're out. Again, can you function that way? Can companies be profitable that way? Yes, but there's going to be a lot of costs involved with that. But if you can create an environment where you're continually learning together, where you're coaching and you're mentoring and you're trying to help the individual on your team who's maybe underperforming, helping them to set goals, getting, upskilled and trained, and doing other things so that they can become a high performer. That's way better for the organization if you can do that.
Yeah. Absolutely true. And it goes even further. It goes even beyond just these, the costs, the obvious costs that are involved that you just mentioned. It also has a lot to do with employer branding. In times when many organizations are having difficulties finding the right people, finding good people in the job market, or in the labor market. How you treat people while they're on board has a direct impact on the image you have, because people talk. People talk. And nowadays we also have various platforms that measure employee satisfaction, where employees can put up their comments, and before you apply, you can check out the platform and get to know a little bit what the culture is like in this organization, et cetera, et cetera. So this has also become much more transparent. So finding and binding the right people has become a challenge for many, and how you treat them is of course impacting this directly. Also, how, for example, you treat people when you have to lay them off, right? How you treat them. And so there's much more than just these costs of transition involved.
Yeah, absolutely. So coming back as we wrap things up today, to bring it back to resilience, you made the case, I think you made a compelling case for why leaders need to start with themselves. If our people look to us, as they do, they look to us and they see us really bending under the pressure of anxieties, stresses related to the business or anything in life, and we're not managing it, handling it in a productive way. Maybe we're snapping.
Leaders, you mean we as leaders?
We as leaders, yeah. If I, as the leader, I'm not handling it in an effective way, I'm buckling under the pressure, I'm snapping at my people, I'm losing my temper, things are going undone, things are falling through the cracks, all that kind of stuff. If that's what my people are seeing, then that's going to have a ripple effect for them and how they're approaching, and the things that I'm not getting done ends up getting pushed onto them. Like it's the ripple effects are continuous. And so I need to practice self-care for myself as a leader. I need to make sure that I'm taking care of myself, that I'm up to the challenge of the heavy lift, the heavy load that leadership, the weight that we bear on our shoulders. And then I model that for my people, and I'm open and transparent and vulnerable, and letting them know, like, I'm not a machine, like I'm a human being just like you. And I'm going to be there to support you. Please help and support me. And you create more trust, you create more meaningful relationships within your team. You give them the permission to be able to develop their own resiliency and their coping mechanisms, their healthy coping mechanisms for the challenges that they face.
Absolutely. And as you just said, it all begins with ourselves as leaders. And some people say, yeah, but you're promoting selfishness here. And I say, yes, I do. Selfishness with the intention to be there for others, right? That's the reason.
Absolutely. And it's, if all we ever do is focus on ourselves always, that's very selfish. But if we are focusing on our own health in order to be in a position to help those around us, that is very generous in action. And I don't know about you, but it's something I've wrestled with my whole life. When I have a family, I focus so much of my time and energy on my wife, my 6 children. And if I'm taking time for myself, I am taking time away from my family. And so that's always been something I've grappled with, something I've struggled with. But I also intellectually, I fully understand. I get that to be my best self for my family, so I can be supportive of them and help them, I do need to take care of myself. And I've gotten better at it over the years.
It's a training thing also. And maybe one more image, because images speak louder than words. Everybody has been on a flight. Everybody has seen and heard the safety instructions before takeoff, when they demonstrate and explain what to do when the oxygen masks are coming down, the yellow masks in case of decompression. And the instruction is very clear. Before you help anyone else put on their mask, you put on your own mask. Because depending on the level of decompression, the speed of decompression, you may faint within the first 10 to 15 seconds. And then how can you be of help to anyone? To the elderly person to your left, to the child to your right? None. So make sure you're in a safe place, you're in a good place, you're in a stable, balanced condition, so that you can then be there for others and help them build their resilience as well as a role model.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Thomas. It has been a real pleasure having you back on the podcast today. I appreciate all of your insights, all the great examples that you've provided. Before we close, I want to give you a chance to share with listeners again how they can get connected with you, find out more about your business, and then give us the last word on the topic for today.
All right. Thanks very much for having me on the call. I have again enjoyed our conversation very much. The best way to reach out to me is through my website. It's www.thomasgelmi.com. Another very quick way is through LinkedIn. So connect with me, look me up, send me a message. And the last thing I'd like to add are the 6 most important elements to focus on if you want to build resilience. It's optimism, solution focus, radical acceptance of what cannot be changed, self-responsibility, so leaving the victim role and taking responsibility, self-regulation, the ability to regulate your own state of mind and emotional reactions, and cultivating positive relationships. And each of these are individual plants that you can groom and take care of in your garden so that they can grow and build your resilience.
Wonderful. Thank you, Thomas. It has really been a pleasure. I encourage listeners to reach out, get connected on LinkedIn, check out his company, check out what he can do for you. And as always, I hope everyone can stay healthy and safe, that you can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day. And I hope you all have a great week.